Hey there everyone, back again with another impressions video. And this one is pretty timely because this game just recently got announced for a Western release. So there will be an English release of this game in, I believe, February. And the announcement came as I was finishing the game. So I was like, oh, that's pretty convenient. There'll be an English release soon, and I just finished it, so I can talk about it to let everybody know whether they should be excited for it or not excited for it. And that game is this, Toukiden. I believe the English name is Toukiden Age of Demons or something. Sorry about that. But Toukiden is the Japanese name. No Age of Demons caught on there. But Toukiden for the PSVita is a Monster Hunter-like game. That's the best way to explain it. It's in the kind of Monster Hunter genre, I guess. Not it's more, first I'll start by saying it's more like something in the range of Monster Hunter or what's that called, Ragnarok Odyssey Ace, I guess, whatever the new one is, than it is Soul Sacrifice. I guess it's probably similar to I guess it's less similar to what's God's Eater because the maps are bigger. I haven't played the new God Eater yet, so I can't really say if the maps are bigger in that one. But, you know, in Soul Sacrifice, the maps are just one, like an arena. And in God Eater, the maps are just kind of like one huge area. But in Monster Hunter and Ragnarok Odyssey, they're kind of and also like Lord of Apocalypse and those games too. The kind of areas are split off into sections, and you'll run through the stage, or some of them will be locked off into arena type things, or that's how Toukiden works. But what makes Toukiden interesting? Well, Toukiden is not like a high fantasy based or like a kind of, you know, there's not going to be dragons and the kinds of like dinosaur-like things that show up in Monster Hunter or the kinds of monsters that show up in Ragnarok Odyssey. It's based on kind of Japanese traditional monsters. So Oni, which are like kind of ogres. They are a bunch of different type of ogres, and they're also the kinds of these giant Japanese-style monsters. They're all like things you could imagine showing up in a wood print in a kind of a Japanese, like 19th century kind of monster wood print. If you've ever seen any of those, a lot of the monsters look like they might come out of those. Or sometimes they look like they might have come out of like kind of statues based on these kind of monsters. It's all pretty interesting. I really like the monster designs, more so than something like Monster Hunter, where they're kind of I mean, the monsters are cool, but they're big. They're mostly like dragons and dinosaurs type things. That it's kind of it's not the same feeling. Whereas Toukiden feels like an kind of epic adventure into Japanese myth, which is kind of something that is interesting to me. It's more interesting than the kind of different versions of the same old, I guess. And that was another reason that Soul Sacrifice was really interesting to me, because the monsters were really coolly designed. And Toukiden does a really good job, even though it's based on something entirely different. And one of the main things you're doing when you're fighting in Toukiden is you're working on, of course, hunting monsters and hunting up kind of, I guess, ingredients or materials to build better weapons and better armor. And you also have, there's some cool mechanics with that. So you collect items. I mean, that's your main goal, is to collect more items to get stronger, to hunt bigger monsters, to get better items to hunt bigger monsters. That's essentially the formula. And what's cool about this one, though, is that all of the monsters have like parts of their bodies that can be cut off. So you can cut off the legs or arms or horns or, you know, sometimes it's different things for all the things. Sometimes it's big shells and things. But you know, just imagine like some type of appendage. If there's some kind of appendage on the monsters, you can probably cut it off, which is the coolest thing, because you cut those things off and then you'll like do this kind of purification ritual over the item, and it'll start spinning in the air, and then it'll disappear and kind of turn into an item. So you get all these items by, I mean, you can find items around the map, but you get all the big and rare items by, you know, breaking all the pieces off of a monster or breaking off some like special part of the monster to get certain items. And it's kind of a good feeling. I really enjoyed that because, you know, you're running around and you blow the leg off of a big demon that's running at you, and it'll fall over on its face, and you can like run over and jump on its head and start bashing it. It's pretty cool. You get a lot of kind of action in there, and I had a lot of fun with it. Actually, I had a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have with it. I thought it was going to be like mediocre. Like I didn't, for example, like Ragnarok Odyssey, I didn't really enjoy all that much. I played it and I thought it's kind of mediocre, and I'm not like a huge Monster Hunter fan either. But you know, as you guys know, I really liked Soul Sacrifice, and Toukiden is kind of in the middle there. So if you had Monster Hunter and then you had Soul Sacrifice, Toukiden would be like mixing those two things together into like a new and interesting kind of game. And that, you know, yeah, I feel it worked out pretty well actually. Like I said, the monster designs are really nice. The levels are, you know, passably good, I guess. The character designs, let's talk about those actually. If you've ever played any of the Dynasty Warriors games, you know the character designs for this game. They're like historical host club characters. That's like the only way to explain them, I guess. If you've ever, like, it's made by the same team who makes Dynasty Warriors, Omega Force, and it's not like Dynasty Warriors, obviously, but the character designs are really similar. So you get those kind of like historical, you know, Japanese style armors and stuff, and weapons, but all the characters have like a host club hair, or they, you know, they're like perky young girls and stuff. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a Dynasty Warriors game, and that's not like to say it's bad. I mean, it looks good. They all look like Dynasty Warriors. That's essentially what they look like. So if you know the style, you know that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you'll be able to like get a good example of the character, kind of how they look, I guess. You can't really see that, but the game itself is actually a lot of fun. So you know, you're collecting a lot of weapons, and there's different types of characters. So depending on you have two ways to kind of select how you want to fight. You can select weapons. So there's, I think, 8 weapon types, but I'm not really sure. I don't quite remember. It might be less. But there's like a katana, and there's like a twin swords. It's like 2 short swords, and a kind of, I don't remember, kusanagari or something. It's like a chain with a sickle on the end, and a big kind of fists, and a kind of hammer, I think, and a bow. There might be more, but I'm not remembering them. I mostly just I tried out all the weapons, and I just mostly used the double swords for the entire game. So I just worked on being a double sword fighter. But that's not the only way. I mean, the way your battling changes drastically depending on the weapon you're using, but it also changes depending on the type of souls you attach to the weapon. You find these kind of souls throughout the map. When you defeat a monster, they'll be like harboring the souls of a hero they killed. And you can use those souls to give you kind of boosts and power-ups. So you'll attach that to a weapon, and the main soul on the weapon there's a bunch of types, so you can kind of make the weapon do these special attacks. So sometimes it'll be, if you're using the speed one, it'll raise your stamina regeneration, so you'll have like double stamina regeneration, or you'll have double speed for a short amount of time, or something like that. Or you can have the strength one, which will double your strength, or give you kind of elemental bonus to attacks, or maybe bonus to stamina or health. There's healing types, so you can do different types of healing things, and there's like a kind of magic one where you charge up and shoot balls of energy. So you have these two kind of focuses. You can do that same kind of. You could be a healer that's a huge damage dealer with the fists, or you can be like a really fast heal. You can be like a really fast healer, one who uses the twin swords and runs around, but also can heal. So it's the kind of thing where you have a lot of options to choose your characters and how to build and how you want to play. And you can change that on the fly. So if you just get tired of that, or you just want to try something else, or you think, well, I need a healer for this one because the healer that I've been using is not here right now, or whatever, you can change that up and do all these things yourself. So there's no penalties to do that. Obviously, the weapons you have to make. So, but I never found that when playing it that I was short on items. I never felt like I'm really underpowered. I have to go back and grind. If you just do all the listed quests, you usually have enough stuff to get all the items you want, or not the best. I mean, obviously not the best ones, but you'll get adequate ones, at least ones that you can continue the game with. Like, I never went back and was grinding all that much. Only there's like certain side quests you can do where you have to like maybe do one thing more than once just to get the correct number of kills. But other than that, there's very little going back and just doing the same bosses over and over again. At least not in the same area for the same mission. That being said, there are like a lot of boss repeats. So you have a bunch of different bosses. There's a pretty good number. It's not like when I played the original God Eater, it felt like there were 5 bosses. Maybe 5, like 4 or 5 bosses only. And they just repeated or were in various combinations. Whereas this didn't give me that feeling. There was probably a lot more types. And then there's like kind of powered up differently versions. So like one will be a fire-based one and it'll have its own range of attacks, and one will be like a different color and it'll have like ice-based attacks and different attack pattern. So, but the base range of monsters is pretty good. I never felt like I was like, oh, this guy again? I never really felt like that, like I always did in God Eater. So, yeah, Toukiden, overall, pretty good game. I quite enjoyed it, actually. I'll probably, if a sequel comes out or gets announced, I'll probably buy it. Not sure if I'll buy an upgraded version, like Toukiden G or whatever it is, like a Monster Hunter always does. I probably wouldn't buy that, but if a Toukiden 2 came out, I'd probably buy that. Whereas Soul Sacrifice Delta, I'm totally hyped for it, totally buy that, even though it's kind of like an incremental upgrade. But yeah, so Toukiden, not as good as Soul Sacrifice in my opinion, but definitely worth buying if you like the kind of Monster Hunter games or the Monster Hunting genre at all. Because I'd enjoyed it more than Monster Hunter, more than God Eater, and more than Ragnarok Odyssey. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's probably my second favorite Monster Hunting game, and it's a good one. So definitely look into picking up Toukiden Age of Demons when it comes out in February. So yeah, that's about it. My impressions of Toukiden. So until next time, I'll see you guys.